All right, howdy everyone. Welcome to a TeachMeet that's been ill-prepared and ill-informed, and we only started thinking about it about a week and a half ago. So bravo to the people who actually made it here, and especially the people who made it to speak at this ungodly hour. And if you're watching the recording, congratulations on being a parent, being a bit more responsible one than me, putting your kids to bed on a Sunday night instead of doing what I'm doing, which is the opposite. Michael Harvey says, like all great lessons, 5-step lesson plan is my go-to. That's I always say mine's always 3, but that's just because my legs are a little bit longer. So welcome to TeachMeet 10. As for those who are paying attention, the last one was in September 10th of 2 years ago. So that's shows a lot of just how committed we are. I think we're all sick of Zoom, and we may still be, as we'll find out. But I'm on the land of the Wurundjeri people, members of the Kulin Nation. We pay our respects to the elders past and present. We don't say emerging anymore because no one really knows what that means. But maybe we do, I don't know. And obviously, I recognise our First Peoples as the first educators, the first teachers, and as we head towards the voice to Parliament, fingers crossed, we recognise we all have a part to play as educators in that. So obviously, just in case you're unaware, we're on Zoom and you're being recorded. So, you know, if you've not done your hair like Brett, you know, feel free to turn off your camera. It's nothing personal. And of course, you know, as many people have messaged, if you're putting the kids to bed, that's all good too, obviously, as I should be doing as well. Michael says, glad you Aussies are catching up with Indigenous ideas. Quite slowly, to be honest, Michael. But for the uninitiated, which looking at the list of names in the call are not that many people, but to be honest, a TeachMeet is democratic sharing, non-hierarchical teacher PD by teachers, though I'm kind of 8 weeks out of teaching myself. Sector blind and inclusive, so I've got people from all over the shop, basically. I'm constantly being distracted by things popping up on my phone. Everyone here is a teacher, whether they still have that title or not, because I think discussing and debating over those things is kind of stupid. And equal weight to all voices, but because this is our first one in 2 years, if Brett wants to talk for 20 minutes, we'll let him go, especially because we've got Matt showing up after his soccer match. So, you know, the longer we take, the more likely Matt is to have a go. And we normally do short presentations between 2 and 7 minutes. I don't know if that's something we Melbourne folk just made up, but, you know, something like that was a thing. We've got, and I'm sure Mags could say in more detail, the history of why, something to do with the length it takes to drink a beer or something similar. In theory, Kelli is first, and it's Kelli's idea that we're here, but to my knowledge, Kelli is not yet here. Let me just scroll through the chat and pretend I can maintain a conversation whilst doing another thing. I cannot, let's be honest. We've got some juicy topics here. Looks like I'm up first. And as is traditional, I'll go first, do a terrible job to get it out of the way. Interestingly, part of the reason we're here is because Kelli McGraw and I were a bit worried because Twitter's going down the toilet, and that's traditionally where us oldies used to hang out and talk. And so we're like, I wonder what happens if that goes down the toilet. And so, interestingly, of the 46 people who responded, of about half are here. Twitter and LinkedIn about equal. Instagram not at all, which says a lot about my follow account, and Threads and email. Believe it or not, I sent about 650 emails because I found an old list that was like people who want to come to TeachMeets, and they've probably all got new jobs, so they haven't replied. But interesting anyway. This is all just a really old slide. What about Blue Sky? I don't know what that is, to be honest. Maybe I should. If you're actually on the Twitters, these are some hashtags, and this is a logo that someone made ages ago, but I'm talking too much. So let's quickly unshare my screen, because unless Kelli would like to make themselves known. Ooh. Christy says no audios. Ooh. Juicy. All right. So, does anyone want to jump in before me? Mix it up a bit, so it's not just me white man explaining at the start. Pregnant pause.
There's a resounding audio there. Everyone jumping in just to save you while you were just dangling there, brother.
All right, looks like it's me. Brett, you want to jump in? Since you're non-slides, I don't have to pull anything up. Or no?
Oh, if you want, do you mean jump in and kick off and do my thing? Or okay,
yeah, please
do that.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you.
Look, I'm not going to show anything razzle dazzle fantastic. Go back to, I saw a call out someone there, good old Ewan McIntosh. I know we all when we first started doing the TeachMeet started in a pub, sharing a beer and having a yarn about what are some things that we could use. And in the spirit of that, actually just got 2 tools that I reckon we can just use, like actually 2 things that are very, very usable. And that's actually what I'm going to show today. So lots of people talking about AI at the moment. Obviously, that's been battering around and people diving in and getting a little bit worried about how many grifters there are saying that they're AI experts. There's a lot of AI experts suddenly out of the woods, and people have been doing it for a couple of weeks now, are experts. But I do have 2 super cool tools that I've been playing with that I reckon are absolute weapon ideas. And let me show them. Share my screen. Oh, host, could you undisable participant screen sharing?
You got prayer hands. Probably, yeah. Let's do that.
So I'm just praying that I can share my screen and nothing goes too far wrong.
All right, try again, and I'll pull you up another way as well.
Yes, sir. Should I? Oh, I don't want to leave the meeting. All righty. If I'll move that, gosh, good old Zoom, get out of the way. There we go. I want to show this Blockade Labs. Not sure if anyone's heard of Blockade Labs. Do me a favor, and someone who wants to be vaguely helpful, I'm going to create a complete 360-degree immersive world within a few seconds. So this is, I've been sort of recommending and talking a lot about cognitive load with students and trying to reduce cognitive load. We know it's really, really hard when you're writing stories, particularly when you're young. Imagine your character, imagine the setting, imagine what's going to happen. Then, whilst you're doing all of that sort of thinking, you're supposed to also concentrate on sentence structure and grammar and spelling and all that sort of stuff. So if we can reduce the cognitive load and have an image or something students can describe or something that they can look at, we can take away the cognitive load of what the child is imagining and just let them focus on sentence structure. I think I heard someone unmute. Give me a hello, someone who wouldn't mind helping me? Otherwise, I'm going to pick Emma because you're at the top of my screen. Emma, thank you for volunteering.
Oh, you're so welcome, Brett. How are you?
Oh, very good. I'm very good. I would love if you could just pretend you're in my Year 3 class. We're about to write a story. I want you to imagine a fantastical world. Tell me a little bit about the world in which you're imagining.
Well, I'm going to take inspiration for what I did on the weekend, which was seeing the Barbie movie. So I'm picturing something really colourful, something really bright. I'm picturing like really wide roads and a mountain landscape in the background.
Bright, wide roads. Oh, if I could spell, would be fantastic. With a mountain, with maybe even multiple mountains, with bright, wide roads with mountains. Would you like a digital painting, realistic, anime, fantasy, sci-fi, tech noir, cyberpunk? What would scenic, dreamlike, oil painting?
Maybe I'm liking the idea of fantasy.
All right. Bright? You said Barbie. Do you want a pink?
Yeah, let's do colourful. How about that?
Bright and Oh, should I spell it American? I don't know. Look, let's do it proper. Bright and colourful wide roads with mountains, fantasy style. Let's generate. Give it about 60 seconds. It will make a complete 360-degree immersive image based on that. I think we get up to around about, I was about to say 400 characters. Looks like if I look properly, we get 370 characters to actually describe our space. Sometimes it misses specific details. I did an Antarctic session with some students. We had lots of penguins and all that sort of stuff. And here we go. We have a bright, colourful, lots of wide roads with mountains. And now, could you imagine, I want to describe this story, describe this setting. All of a sudden, I don't need to spend all that time imagining it. I can look at different parts. I can describe this pink tree with the light fluffy leaves and all that sort of stuff. And suddenly I can concentrate on my adjectival phrases, adverbial phrases. I can suddenly concentrate on my sentence structure and all that sort of stuff with that. It's super, super easy to download. One of the ways that I've been with some schools that I've been working with, that actually download this, chuck it into a PowerPoint, and then actually have kids audio record what happens in their story on the slide. So then you actually have, not only do they have the visual prompt of what the story looks like, but they also have, I guess, the sequencing of what the events that they want to have happen. So they get a nice little movie of their world with their audio description, with the visual description. Then they just need to concentrate on writing the story. Super easy, very, very quick. It's one of those things that, you know what, bang, you could use within just a few seconds. It's like a great, great tool. The second one I'm not going to dive into because I'm not really keeping a time on myself, so I don't know how long I've gone. Normally 7 minutes is how long I need just to say hello. But Question Well. I started playing with Question Well not long ago. Question Well, any text at all that you put in, it will generate lists of questions for you. So you could do almost entire texts or paragraphs. It will generate the questions for you. And then what's really, really cool, say you use Quizzes or you use Kahoots or something like that, you can then export directly in and it will generate like a Kahoot for you like immediately. So it can, when we talk about relieving the administrative burden and some of the stuff that we need to do, this will actually, you have some text, you can have some heavy context, you can have like a chapter book, whatever it might be, but it will generate questions for you, and then you can export that sometime maybe straight to your LMS or into your favorite little tools. It's pretty cool. They're my two ideas. I'll stop sharing. I didn't want to, think of anything too crazy and wild. I thought I'll pick up the original spirit of TeachMeet and just show a couple of two really simple, cool tools that anyone can pretty much grab tomorrow. You don't have to be super techie and literally just use. And great time savers, all that sort of stuff. There you go. That's my share.
Thanks, Brett. I feel like I'm old enough to. You get the kids to write the quizzes. You slave labor the kids anyway. That's a good idea. I guess AI could do it for us. And yeah, totally agree. As a English teacher, it's like, yeah, definitely good idea, because the kids that are good at imagining tend not to be the ones that are good at the writing, and vice versa. But that's a broad generalization. But beautiful. Thanks, Brett. Go check on that barbecue.
Yeah, I'll be back in a second. I'll go check on my barbecue and I'll be back in a bit.
I was just saying he's got a Wi-Fi barbecue, so he's obviously in a different pay grade to the rest of us. But
a Wi-Fi barbecue, yes.
That's my probably 45-minute presentation. And Emma, you're up. And also, I realize I probably said a lot of radical stuff in a lot of pace, but hey, that's fun. Emma.
Hello, sorry, I was literally just running to grab a glass of water, and then I hear, and Emma's up. So now I'm going to be super wired for this presentation. So good luck to all of you. I haven't done Zoom since Zoom, so I am going to try to connect to these slides, but someone please tell me if I don't do it. I can't do it. Steve, can you share my slides?
Sure can.
Sorry, everyone. I genuinely have not used this since
I love that you
lockdown, and
did
apparently I have
Zoom
to
too.
I have to provide permission to share slides, which I did not do. So anyway, this is my incredibly brief overview of AI and assessment. In no way am I an AI expert. There can't be AI experts. It's only been a thing for a little bit, but I just wanted to go through and talk about it. Next slide, please, Steve.
My phone definitely wasn't out. Yeah.
No. So I've had the most chaotic teaching career so far. So in 2020, I started teaching. I had 8 whole weeks in the classroom and of normality before we went into lockdown. And then I taught all the way through 2021 during COVID. And then 2022, I got a mix of classes. I had year 11 English, and I had students in my year 11 English class that had not done English since year 9 due to lockdown. So I've had a very big year of readjusting. And now in 2023, we're managing AI. And truly, I believe that in 2023, my practice has become strongest with the use of AI. Next one, please, Steve. Thank you so much. Oh, no, there we go. Okay. So when we look at AI, we look at the most obvious changes and the challenges that we've faced. And that mostly is plagiarism. AI can generate very authentic, very sophisticated content that is incredibly difficult for teachers to detect. After a while, you can pick up on it, but you can never really know. It is enabling students to cheat on exams, which can undermine the value of assessments and the fairness of assessment in a traditional sense and in a traditional form, which is what I will continue to talk about. And academic fraud, I've put that in brackets, and devaluating the current educational system's integrity. Next one, Steve, which goes into the failure of incorporating AI into secondary high schools is creating a massive gap in education. I feel like we have pre-AI education and post-AI education, and being able to actually integrate this into our new curriculum is vital. Next, please. Okay, so how are schools not keeping up? I don't think that they are able to keep up because it's so new, it's so changing, it's rapidly changing. Every day I hear about a new AI tool that's being used or created, and it just blows my mind, which leads to a big fact that we have a lot of outdated assessment at the moment. We have outdated criteria. Our staff development is so far behind on AI development, and lack of resources are hindering progress and hindering teachers' ability to innovate with these systems. Next. The impact of not keeping up with AI is that students can struggle to connect with outdated curriculum. My students are so incredibly passionate about AI, but I don't feel like I'm able to teach them ways that they can use it that's ethical in the current form that we have. Teachers who are not equipped with AI skills are not able to teach students with AI skills, nor know how to use AI to advance their own resources. The best way that I have used AI this year is for differentiation. It is an absolute breeze to be able to get AI to look at something that you've created and look at ways that you can differentiate it to other learners. And if we are not preparing our students to use it as a tool, it's not the answer, it's a tool to help us. We're not preparing students for the future job market. Next one. So what can be done? Teaching, using AI, we can have incredibly personalized learning experiences. We need to have an immediate teacher upskilling on how to use AI to enhance teacher skills. I have grown so much as an educator because of AI showing me how I can, advance my own teaching, my own pedagogy. And we also really need to have a look at AI and privacy around grading and feedback. I've been hearing a lot of teachers in the US using AI and getting it to grade their students' papers, but we have to realize as educators, if we put something in AI, then it can go forth and generate for other teachers. So we need to look out for our students' privacy and also, So truly, students really need to invest in AI tools and training to keep up with modern times. And we've got to do this quickly. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. How did you do the face with the eyes in the weird spot? Anyway, it just shows how old I am. Stephanie Westcott.
Thanks so much, Stephen. Do you want me to do the slides myself?
Yeah, you do it.
So, yeah, that way I don't have to tell you when.
Yeah, I just had it in there as a reminder. Please
Lovely.
do.
Great. All right, thank you so much for having me, everyone. My name is Stephanie Westcott. I'm from Monash University. I'm a lecturer in humanities and social sciences. The research that I'm talking about this evening, I am completing with colleagues, Professor Stephen Roberts, who's also at the Faculty of Education, Shunan Zhao, who's our research assistant and future PhD candidate. And as I said, we're from Monash University. So the research that I'm going to be reporting on tonight is on Andrew Tate, and the influence that Andrew Tate is having on boys in Australian schools. So just to begin, I want to talk briefly about how this research began. So we, of course, were observing with concern Andrew Tate's increasing popularity. So if you're not familiar with who he is, he's a significantly popular male influencer or male influencer, particularly popular on TikTok and Twitter. His Twitter account was banned, but has been reinstated by Elon Musk. His content is hugely misogynist and sexist, and we know that algorithms target teenage boys in particular to show his content to them without them seeking it out in particular. And if he's got a website, if you decide to have a look at it, he's got something that you can subscribe to called Hustlers University, which aims to teach boys and young men how to become it's a scam essentially, but it's how to become wealthy, allegedly. And so we started to see news reports coming out of the UK, reports that teachers were saying that schools were becoming really volatile, that Andrew Tate's presence in their classrooms was being felt very profoundly, and that boys' behaviour was escalating. And so we began to wonder if this was something that we were seeing in Australian classrooms too, although we hadn't seen anything in the news on the topic. So we started to understand, though, from conversations with colleagues that yes, this was occurring in Australian schools, that boys' behaviour was becoming very problematic, that women in particular were having a very difficult time in the classroom, and girls too, and that girls are reporting on their attitudes to school surveys in Victorian schools that they don't feel safe and that they're unhappy. And so we began this research. We put a flyer on our social media, and we received a huge influx from women teachers. And we have been completing that research since about April, and we've just submitted our first paper, which is currently under review. So just to speak to the theme of this evening, which is it what's changed, or everything's changed question? Well, to speak to that, we know that sexism, sexual harassment and misogyny have been phenomena of the teaching profession for a long time. We have research dating back to the 1980s, which wasn't that long ago, obviously, but this phenomenon isn't new necessarily, but what teachers are suggesting and what we're finding out in our research is that the climate has changed, that this is a particularly toxic climate at the moment, particularly in post-lockdown schooling. So as an overview of what we've done so far for this study, we've interviewed 30 women working in schools across sectors. So we've covered public, Catholic and independent schools in Tasmania, Victoria, New South Wales, WA and Queensland. We've conducted research with these teachers over Zoom. They last for about an hour. Some of the conversations are quite distressing. Some of the women that we've spoken to have had profoundly troubling experiences in their schools. And some of the content is really horrific. And the interviews have taken place between April and May this year. And because of this sort of timeliness and the urgency of this research, we've generated, we've tried to generate the research in a publication really quickly so that we can try and, I don't know, speak publicly, make this known so that we can do something about it. So some of the key findings that have come out of our interviews with teachers, I'll just talk about 3 of them, that Andrew Tate's tropes, his, sayings, his mannerisms, his body language, his ideas and his ideology have really infiltrated schools across all sectors. So what we're seeing, out of suburban government schools is happening too in elite private schools. It's the same, it's of the same nature. It's of the same toxic nature. So what we're hearing is that boys are weaponizing Andrew Tate, his ideas about women, and they're using these in classrooms as provocations to bait their teachers, to undermine their teachers, and to harass them. What we're describing and what we're seeing is what we're calling resurgent masculine supremacy. So we're seeing boys becoming increasingly demanding in their expectations of their women teachers. They're asking things of women, demanding things of women that women do not believe they are asking of their male teachers. There's a real sense of entitlement in classrooms from boys. They're belittling and patronizing girls. They're really disrupting and disturbing girls' education. And there's a huge rise in expressions of masculine dominance in the classrooms and in the schoolyard as well. And we're seeing this as a type of backlash to the Me Too movement. Boys are expressing to their teachers that they believe that women are their oppressors, and that they are victims of a progressive social movement that has minimized boys' rights to be in particular ways in schools. And of course, we're seeing widespread sexual harassment and misogyny in schools. So sustained, ongoing sexual harassment of women and girls, that of course is disrupting their education and their work. And 2 of the participants that I spoke to have resigned from teaching because of boys' behavior, specifically sexual harassment. So in terms of implications, what's next? What's our impact? What can we do? We want to first open up a conversation in schools, allow women to disclose their experiences, their daily experiences in the classroom, and invite a dialogue about how toxic influences online are changing boys' behaviour in schools. We've also, in our research paper that's under review, we've made a call to action for a new research agenda on the implications of responses to manfluencer culture in education settings. So what role do schools play in speaking back, in pushing back, in resisting this toxic behaviour? We've published a few pieces in the media to try and garner some attention to the issue. So we've published a piece in the Canberra Times, the Bursa Education HQ. We've spoken on ABC Radio. We've been invited to talk to Respect Victoria as well, which is an organisation dedicated to the prevention of violence against women. We've of course got our paper under peer review at the moment, and we're looking to extend this research as well to do interviews with school leaders. We'd love to talk to boys as well and do some ethnographic studies in schools and case studies as well. I feel like I've spoken very quickly. It's a big topic. There's a lot to say about it, but if you're interested or if you want to know more, please get in touch. I'm also on Twitter and I haven't put my handle there, but it's around. Just look me up. And thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Stephanie. As everyone's saying in the chat, important and timely and time-sensitive work. So especially the way you're sort of getting the ideas out there, because a topic is time sensitive as this, you don't want to be necessarily waiting for the paper to come out. So it's great to see that you're out there doing the work before as well. So thank you. For likely a very dramatic tonal shift, we're going to Steffi, who's just come back from Finland and Singapore. And Steffi, you happy for me to be the clicker person?
I am happy for you to be my clicker.
Sweet, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Steffi Salazar. Similar to Stephen, I've kind of stepped out of the classroom, but it's because I've wanted to really impact more students and teachers and leaders in other schools. So now working with 25 schools across New South Wales, doing such a range of projects that I love. But a highlight for me this year was definitely going to Finland and Singapore, speaking at the Ministry of Education in Singapore, and them being very inspired by our use of social media in connecting and collaborating, creating these networks. So that was something that really impressed them, not something that they usually do. So I would love to share a few of the things that I learned. Hopefully you feel a little inspired, and just, you know, feel a bit more hopeful about how education can be in Australia, because we are doing some good things. So I came to Singapore and Finland with the question, you know, how are teachers and leaders supported to be the best they can be for students? That's what I really wanted to learn. I was determined to not just listen to researchers and leaders, but actually speak to teachers and students directly. So that's what I did. And, you know, everyone was quite real. They weren't pretending that they were perfect systems in education. But I did notice that a lot of them, you know, these countries, they're very connected to what's happening globally in other countries. They send their teachers and leaders to other countries to learn. And they actually, you know, even though they're doing quite well, they ask for ideas from us about mental health and things. So they're very open to learning. I spoke to a beginning teacher who was quite talented and is now working at the Ministry of Education. And he said to me, as teachers, you are civil servants, like doctors and police officers, who are the same as the people who run the system of this country. You are signing up to be nation builders. And I just thought, you know, that's amazing. If that's how beginning teachers see their role, you know, imagine the difference they're making. Thank you, Steve. So teachers are seen as society's leaders. You know, in Singapore, they have this brilliant compass ceremony that they all get, and they gave us one as well. They had a clear vision for teacher education everywhere we went. Every school had their vision. It had affirmations for their students to see everywhere, very clear frameworks. Teachers were reporting to me how supported they felt by their principals to enact their ideas and in the classroom. There's a lot of freedom and trust in what they wanted to do for their students. What I particularly noticed in Singapore was this intentionally designed comprehensive, consistent support frameworks for all when entering the profession and throughout your teaching and leadership journey. You know, in the first 3 years, you are definitely given a mentor. There's tutors, there's mentor teachers. No matter what happens, you are supported from beginning all the way through, and they can all articulate that. And principals, I will have to say, they are taken out for about 7 to 9 months. They're still paid to learn how to be amazing principals. And I asked principals in my fellowship group, how many days of training did you get to be a principal? They said 12 days. I'm like, oh, that's different. So very supported to become the leaders that they want to be. I found that schools were places of joy, especially in Finland. The teachers and students, they have co-created these safe, positive learning environments designed with intentionality. And teachers were reporting to me that they have pedagogical freedom to meet their students' needs. In Finland, they said they got rid of these inspectors who used to come to their schools many years ago because they said it was taking away their autonomy. And so, yeah, they have a thin curriculum and they are not expected to all teach it exactly the same way. And these students on the left at Singapore, the STEM Academy, were so brilliant. They would, in their spare time, they have this club and they design apps that are used by society to improve things like mental health. Very empowered students. Overall, I found in both systems that education is reliable. It's committed to lifelong learning at all levels. So no matter what happens, you can always return to education. And it's focused on the students learning for life. So in Singapore, you could see, you know, from the beginning in the industrialization time, they were focused on survival, so their education reflected that. But now they've grown and they've, you know, during COVID even, they realized the benefits of learning from home. And so they've continued that. I think it's every week or every fortnight that secondary schools get a day at home to do their assignments and receive support from their teachers online. So they continue to learn from things and build on that. And I wonder, in Australia, do we kind of, have we picked up on things from the pandemic, and have we really continued with those great things we learned, or have we just kind of forgotten everything? So changing is happening. How do we ride with it? And a question that I asked Murat, who's our new secretary of New South Wales Education, I asked him in a meeting recently, how can we cultivate system-wide joy and collaboration? Because I think that's part of the solution. Connected with the same clear and inspiring vision, focus and priority, so that our current leaders and teachers feel like they are being supported to be the best they can be for our students. Instead of focusing on attainment, I think it's so important to focus on who is actually in our classrooms right now, because they need the greatest support. And just a few examples of what I'm trying to do at the moment and in this space, things like Time to Thrive hubs for early career teachers in the first 5 years of their career, bringing them together and creating safe spaces for them to just talk about what is going on for them, which they really appreciate. Yes, we give them strategies around managing themselves, how to have challenging conversations, but they need that space. They have unique challenges. Instructional Rounds Networks, actually bringing, we've been apart for so long, bringing schools together to actually share, collaborate, and actually talk about teaching and learning. That just feels like a special thing now, and teachers and leaders are really appreciating that kind of support in improving pedagogy. Co-creating coaching culture is a big part of what I'm doing these days. I find that I'm really trying to bring together executive teams and getting them to really step inside teachers' perspectives to understand their needs, and forming a coaching kind of framework, not based on what's a prepackaged thing, but authentically creating, something that's based on our kids' needs, our teachers' needs, so that we have these conversations, no matter what level you are in the school, that are actually, life-giving and student-focused, and focused on really what that teacher needs, particularly for their students. And while I was overseas, of course, I had to start something new, and I started connecting with people who love supporting early career teachers, from researchers in Finland at the Hybrid Pedagogy Lab, and teachers and leaders at the Ministry of Education, to start the Global New Teacher Champion Project. So that's evolving slowly. I have a life, I'm a mum as well, so trying not to go too fast, too hard. And I just think it's such a good idea. Collaborate with your clever mates, combine your superpowers together and speak to system leaders together, to try to make that, to try to influence changes at the top. So we know that that's where the big decisions are happening. And just to finish off, selfishly, I'm just going to plug a new network I've started with my coaching friends who are school-based, the Australian Educoaches online networking event on August 24. We're doing a fun event launching with Dr. Rachel Lofthouse from Collective Ed, talking to students who coach each other at St. Ives High School, sharing stories of practice and coaching circles. So just a space for us to reflect as coaches, and even aspiring coaches are welcome as well. We just want to collaborate and connect. So please stay in touch. Hope you got at least one idea from today, and thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Stephanie. So it seems like you might be good at networking. That's what it came up a little bit there. Just on a study tour, I'll just form a new movement. Very good. All right, Kelly, you're up, and then Matt, you're last. No pressure.
Hey, thanks. I should be good. I'm just going to make these big and then try and share it. Thanks for coming along tonight, by the way, everyone. I've been feeling kind of crazy. I don't know about you all, but I think it was Threads was the final straw. Are our Twitter communities going to disappear? And if Threads is the next thing, is this the time to jump? The energy of that week was the same week, more or less, that the new report into initial teacher education was released, and Jason Clare was out there, and it was announced that he was going to fix education. And so my social media life had Threads happening here, and Jason was telling us that he was going to fix it and we have to change all our degrees a friggin' again. And so, yeah, the theme is everything changing or is it? Really spoke to me. And it's great to see you all and hang around with your energy. I wanted to talk a bit about changes that are happening in initial teacher education, because that report did come out and it was in the news that week. And I thought my slides kind of are a bit of a collection of Instagram memories, actually, because this is one of the places I've tried to teach using social media in university since I got there. I've been at QUT now. I just ticked over my 13th year anniversary. And before that, I was in New South Wales in Southwest Sydney for 4 years as an English teacher. So I've spent most of my time up here, but I was a digital education revolution baby from Sydney who came up to Queensland and tried to keep using social media and tools like that. And so I just wanted to talk a bit about what that's been like in uni, because I do feel like in some ways we're like 5 years ahead of teachers in the staffing crisis, and what that looks like for things like increasing class sizes and an increasing reliance on the digital. I do just wonder what kind of hellscape dystopia. No, promising future is on the cards for you all. So there on the screen, you've got a picture you can see through the windows of the classroom that I was teaching in when I first started at QUT. This picture's from 2016 after it had a... Oh, you can't?
No.
You haven't presented yet, yeah.
Oh, okay. It was only still the one screen the whole time, but that should all be fine. Here we go. There's the pretty picture.
Got it.
So you can see just through there, like the little windows. And so I was in there since I started. This was after the refurb, but I landed at uni and the vibe of teaching in higher education was the fun digital space was collaborative education, like using these new tools to sit students around. You can kind of see there, they're in group desks. Everyone's got a big collaborative screen that they can work on. And we're going to do this great problem-based, project-based learning with our new collaborative tools, because we've all got Google Docs now. And, you know, collaborative tools and collaborative working was the big, sexy digital pedagogy thing. And we were just getting into blended learning, you know, and flipped learning was on the scene as well, that we're going to blend a bit of video, a bit of YouTube style education with our regular in the room education. And that's what was sexy then. I still had, though, in that kind of scenario, I could design my own assessment tasks when I landed at uni there. So that was the vibe that I was trying to get into, but I could still design my own assessment tasks, pick my own reading lists, design my own rubrics. It still felt like higher education as many of my generation, kind of 40s and 30s, knew it, which was you went to a tutorial that was 2 or 3 hours long, and then you also might go to a lecture that was an hour long. And those things were just starting to get recorded, but they still looked like that. So for my English curriculum here, I've always had about 80 to 90 students, and that used to look like 3 tutorials of 30, because you used to say, I'm not taking more than 30 students, and this is what I'll do for my assessment task. And this is one of the cool assessment tasks I had when I was first there. I got them to do challenges and they did a portfolio. Their peers assessed different challenges that they did. They could join Twitter and make a PLN. They could do a digital identity collage, all these cool things. In the new kind of initial teacher education landscape, post 2014, the last review we had, I can't do this assessment anymore. This is such a cool assessment. It was squashed out in the last round of fixing ITE. The other kind of tasks that I used to have, you can see here, I'm teaching people how to be high school English teachers. Here's an essay. How can we promote creativity in English? There's task 1 to get you thinking, getting ready for task 2, where you do a bit of a unit outline, make a little AV support to go with it, and do 2 lesson plans. It's a very traditional kind of thing. Whereas now, like, you can see that had enough of the traditional plan a lesson, plan a unit, but there was still some cool, you know, essays on creativity, portfolios. The cool stuff is kind of gone now, because now my university can't get its program accredited by the QCT or NESA or whoever your local governing authority is, unless you've got a whole lot of things that they and AITSL require to meet standards. And in the process of standardizing those curriculums, so much of my space for design has been gone. And that's what I want people who are in schools to be on the lookout for. So another big thing that happened, I want to show kind of flexible learning was a big thing that happened. This was around 2016. I moved out of the blended learning space. This is a big double space. It fits 70 students and it's got flexible furniture and it's not pods of collaboration anymore. It's sit on the floor or sit on a table, sit where you like, learn how you want. The teacher stands anywhere, iPad it up to the screen. You know, it's that kind of really flexible learning space model. And it was fun experimenting with that, but I still had a lot of autonomy then over what I would do. But as these spaces opened up, and I know these spaces have opened up in school as well, the pressure started to be on for me to increase my class size. But having an extra teacher to keep the ratios reasonable was not always on offer. So I increasingly, to be allowed to use a sexy room like this to play in the digital space, had to volunteer to teach groups of 1 teacher and 40 to 50 students in a tutorial. And it didn't work well. So I'll just fast forward to 2018, classes kind of looked more like this. The digital turn had already happened in university. Pre-COVID, we already couldn't get them there. That this is a pre-COVID phenomenon that they weren't coming to university. And at my university, attendance isn't mandatory, which is a very cool philosophy, but so they just didn't come. But I could still get them there with a peer sharing day and a morning tea. You can see the orange juice and the biscuits. I could still get a room full of people in week 13 for peer sharing in 2018 if I brought the juice. I can't get that anymore, folks. I'm here to tell you that tutorials in universities are dead. They're over. They're over. Whatever they were kind of like in 2018, COVID was the nail in the coffin. They're done. So as I mentioned before, there was a 2014 TMAG report that said, you got to make classroom ready graduates. And that's what caused the situation we were already in pre-COVID. And then we get COVID, of course, and university teaching starts to look like this. Record, save, upload, repeat. And instead of having most of your time in big tutorials and some of your time in lectures and little parts of those becoming asynchronous and blended and hybrid, which I was all about. I love that. It was working. It was kind of going cool. COVID flipped the script, of course, and a lot of employers, I think universities as well, that were feeling the financial pinch, took the opportunity with COVID to say, well, things have changed now. And I can no longer ever ask for a class of 30 unless I've got really good reason. The class sizes have increased, the push for efficiency where they can pay me to just record 1 lecture and then repeat it and not have to pay me again. I still get the same wage, I still get the same number of teaching hours, but it's my students that aren't getting the same number of hours with me. I have more students in my fold than ever before, and they're expected to ask computers for more help instead of asking me than ever before. So yeah, it looked, there's a lot of, I've got my ring light up now. Of course, we've all, you know, most of us bought one. I felt for Enticott, I took my long service leave 2020 semester 1 and came back into COVID and had to buy that webcam, which is in front of me now. And I had the same thing, taught my first class. I write about this in one of the papers I wrote, taught my first class, forgot how to use Zoom, forgot how to use everything, ended up hotspotting off my phone a 3-hour shoot. It was a disaster. Anyway, it's chaos now. And so now my rubrics all look like this. I'm about to go into a semester with the first ever rubric that was written for me and task that was written for me. And I had no say, and I have to teach it for 1 to 2 years to prove that it doesn't work before I can ask to redesign it. And I've got a class of 50 and half of them will be online, but they'll actually only watch the recording. I'll only ever meet 3 of them and the other half will come in sometimes. And I just don't want schools to go that same way. And so I wanted to tell you a bit of people asking what it's like in uni right now. I'm like, staff are thin on the ground and there's a lot of pressure to make a lot of stuff for a lot of people with not a lot of money. So yeah, I did join Threads, by the way, and that's the end of my talk. I'll see you in the chat.
Christine asked, who wrote it for you then? Which I think is an interesting question.
Who wrote which thing?
The rubric that you just showed us. So,
The pace of approvals with the QCT moved so fast that the secondary coordinator for the MTeach had to write a whole bunch of things that would apply for the whole of curriculum suite. So it's me, maths, digital technologies, everyone have just been handed the task that they had to write on a quick turnaround to get approval for the QCT.
gotcha, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, harrowing stuff.
I know, I'm so sorry. And that's why I wanted to see and talk to you all. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know, and especially in high school, we used to say, "Oh, we'll have to prepare them for uni when they'll be doing shoots and they'll be talking and they'll be doing all this." And it's like, well, I don't know what we're preparing them for now. Just, why do we still do face-to-face if they're not going to have to do it later? But yeah, let's. Matt's out on the veranda. It looks like in the dark. So Matt, talk us through what you got as we remain depressed.
I am. Can you hear me?
You sure can. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Awesome. I am outside on the veranda. I'm going to talk well-being. And thanks for sticking around because, yeah, I get it. Look, I've just finished a game of soccer, over 45s. That's why I'm looking like I do. It's not too stressful. Don't worry about that. It's one of the things I do to de-stress. It's one of the things that I do to keep my mental health going. But if you ever watched a game of over 45s, you'd think, is this really what these guys do to de-stress? There's a lot of shouting. There's a lot of, you did that wrong. There's a lot of, you did that wrong. Just last week, a guy said he was going to snap me in half. Now, I know it was okay. I thought he said he was going to stab me. And I went, "You're going to stab me?" And he goes, "No, I'm going to snap you in half." I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense. He had a solid reason. I was running the line, the guy that holds the flag up, didn't hold the flag up properly. And he told me to get my head in the game. I said, "Look, do you want to do this job? It's all yours. Here you go, grab the flag." He didn't like that. So next time the ball went out, I kind of went, "Is that better?" That's when he got a little bit upset with me and said, "Yeah, I'm going to snap you in half." So what does an angry man who shouted at me for not doing my job properly have to do with well-being? Well, for one, I think that guy needed someone to ask if he was okay. I don't think at that point in time, I was the person that should have asked if he was okay. I think that might not have gone down that well. So I left it. The thing I've titled this speech, "Wellbeing is not really my thing." So what do you want me to do about it? And that's kind of what I'm looking at. Wellbeing in society matters. Wellbeing in our schools matters. Have you ever had that conversation with a teacher? "I need you to focus more on wellbeing. I need you to focus more on this. I need you to focus more on that." And teachers just go, "Man, wellbeing, it's not really my thing. So, what do you want to do about it?" I get that teachers are busy. I get that we ask teachers to do a lot of stuff. A bunch of teachers there are, for those people who think that teaching is just delivering content, it's not. There's more to it than that. So when we talk about well-being or wellness, it's just another thing that we need to do. And you're right, it is another thing we need to do. It's a really important thing we need to do. And if not now, when? As the classic 80s hairband Cinderella once sang, "The more things change, the more they stay the same." I am big on well-being. I have been for a while. I think it's more important than grades. I think it's more important than assessment. I think it's even more important than homework. If COVID taught us anything, and it did for about, 2.5 seconds, it's that our obsession with measuring's got to stop. It's that whole thing about measuring me against someone else. I think we've got to stop that. We've got to stop comparing this student to another student. Comparing me to me, I like that. So comparing where I am now to where I am later, that's good. That learning trajectory, I knew I'd get that word right, goes from here to here. I don't believe that it's just a straight up line anymore. I think it's a bit more messy than that. I reckon it's a little bit more like a roller coaster. It's bumpy, it goes up and down, it goes around, and sometimes you throw up. Am I wrong? How did you learn that drinking too much tequila is not a good thing? But I digress. So I want to talk about individual growth versus comparison. Comparing students to one another is great for school statistics. for school brochures, for saying we're doing this better than you're doing this, I'm better at it than you, for analysing data. It's not great for learning. I want to overcome that obsession with measurement. How do we think that measuring everything is going to have anything but a negative impact on student well-being? That constant, you're not doing this well, that testing, the homework overload contributes to so much stress and anxiety in our students, in our teachers, and in our homes for parents. I thought you were talking about well-being. This is a whole lot of stuff about grades and about, whatnot. Well, I'm obsessed with learning. That's my obsession. And I think learning's intrinsically linked to well-being. If I'm not well physically, then my body can't function at its best. If I'm not well emotionally, my body and my brain, my me cannot function at its best. So what I'm asking teachers to do is I want us to look out for one another. I want us to start with ourselves and make sure we look after ourselves and then move outward. Part of my role at the moment is to develop a pastoral system in our homeroom, so I may work with year sevens. I'm currently doing that by setting this simple structure. Help our year sevens get organised. Once they're organised, I think that links into stress, and I think a lot of our student stress is based around organisation. I've introduced a bit of some mindfulness exercises, the making sure that students are physically active. I'm looking for bright spots to replicate over and above problems to solve. I'm asking teachers to be that teacher for some kids. Now, you can't be that teacher for everyone, but you can be that teacher for some. And by that teacher, I mean the teacher who cares more about me than they care about my grades. The teacher that knows that if I'm not at my best, I'm not going to function at my best. And I guess a big part of this is about knowing your students, knowing who they are, knowing how they learn, and knowing what they like and are good at. First rule of being well, look after you. If you're not well, it's hard to look after others. And a lot of the time we don't make time to look after ourselves. A lot of times we don't make space to look after our well-being. So the second part, what do you want me to do about it? I want you to look after yourself. I want you to look after other people. I want you to be the best human you can be. So who can do this? Anyone. Any single person in school can do this. As I get older, my connection, look, I still think I connect well with young people, but it's a long time since I was at school. That remembering what school was like was a while ago. It's very different now than when I was at school. A lot of the social media stuff, well, there was none of that. So it was someone's word against yours. There was no film and stuff that went online. There was none of that students and kids have to deal with today. Young people, young teachers in particular, you've got a closer connection with school than I do. It's been a while for me. I have probably a stronger connection with parents, maybe even grandparents, than I do with students, in that I remember what school was like. My last point to finish, I just want to pose a question. It's a rhetorical question. It's something to think about, something to ponder. Imagine this. What if, rather than measuring schools on how well they're doing academically, we considered well-being as the fundamental measure for success? Well, what might that look like? How might we redefine success? Thanks for listening. If you want to chat to me, I'm on that old school Twitter thing still. I'll be the angry guy waving at the clouds on whatever the things, threads. I was going to call it shreds. Thanks for listening.
Beautiful. Thank you, Matt. As always, we have the loosest possible themes, and it seems like no matter what happens, Matt just turned up at the end of soccer and managed to fit within the theme of the people who spoke before. We had toxic masculinity at the start. We had people offering to snap him in half and so forth, and well-being as an antidote. So, I mean, again, just continue to be in awe just how a bunch of clever people in a room come to similar conclusions. So, in theory, thank you, Matt. In theory, we're here until 9, but we're nothing better than a meeting that finishes early. So let's wrap this up. 3 very simple questions. Should we do another? Do you have something that you'd like to share? If you're in the room or watching the recording, looking at the names in the room, I'm very confident that almost everyone could, with a week's warning, jump up and present as well. So if anyone's interested in doing that, let me know. We'll do another one in, I don't know, a month's time or something. And if you can think of a theme, by all means. As you can tell, research, teaching, leadership, traveling around Finland and Singapore, Steffi, you show off. Whatever you're doing, no, just kidding. Whatever you're into and you're happy to present about, by all means, we want to hear from you, basically. But at least for me, I think this is very important sort of stuff that happens. This is how you get the sort of collaboration that should be happening within schools and beyond schools, but typically doesn't. So by all means, hit me up or someone else who jumped on the call, and we'll get another one happening. But I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to stop recording, and we'll do it again sometime.